You're listening to the latest episode of the Subbuteo podcast, and in this episode we feature an interview with Pete Marshall from England, who talks to me about something I was not familiar with before I did this podcast, and that is the concept of Solo Subbuteo. Now, some listeners might know exactly what I mean when I say that. Others might be perplexed, as I was. So I sat down with Pete and had him explain how it works and what it is, and whether or not it's a threat to Club Subbuteo or Subbuteo clubs or not. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But again, this is the latest episode of the Subbuteo podcast from the American Subbuteo Federation. It's been a while since the last podcast. I went ahead and moved, so I was previously in South Florida. And now I live in North Florida, and Pat O'Brien is still running American Subbuteo Federation and Garage Soccer in South Florida, and here I am, Christopher Harris, up in Northern Florida near Jacksonville. Now that I've settled in, been able to jump back on the podcasts, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of these in the near future. In terms of news, not a lot of news going on right now, but a couple of things that I did want to point out. One of which, if you haven't had a chance to check this out, it's on YouTube, and it's one of the most amazing Subbuteo shows I think I've ever seen. It's a monthly show called Table Football Monthly, and it goes into Subbuteo, but not just Subbuteo, but it goes into any table football or table soccer games from the past. So everything from magnetic football to a game called Striker or Super Striker, as a lot of you would know it as well as kind of the roots of Subbuteo and some of the different versions of Subbuteo, like Football Express, etc. It is so well produced. It is amazing. Here's just a kind of a glimpse of it in terms of the intro song where they have a little bit of fun here. So this is Table Football Monthly, the opening. So there you go. There's the theme song for Table Football Monthly, and if you haven't seen it on YouTube, check it out too, because it's they've got a music video that they put together singing that song, and it's a lot of fun. It is so much interesting information. Definitely, a lot of insight, but really some good jokes in there, some humor, some interesting interviews. It is so well done. This is something that you would expect to see kind of in terms of the production quality, something on television. And hopefully in one of these upcoming episodes, I'll get a chance to talk to the guys that do the show to learn more about maybe their other day job, which I would presume would be in the television industry. But again, if you haven't checked it out, you got to take a look. It's absolutely amazing. It's called Table Football Monthly. And last but not least, in terms of what's been happening this summer, there's been a lot of tournaments around the United States being played everywhere from California to Florida to, I think, Michigan, Chicago, and also a lot of pictures being posted on the Garage Soccer USA Subbuteo Facebook group of people playing in Portland and around the United States. So that's good to see. And of course, if you'd like to share any of your stories, or if you're interested in being interviewed for a future podcast, definitely contact us. Yeah, definitely contact us, because we have the monthly Garage Soccer newsletter that goes out from the American Subbuteo Federation, as well as, of course, this podcast, social media accounts on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. We've got a bunch of videos up there too. So GarageSoccer.com, definitely check that out, as well as AmericanSubbuteo.org. All right, well, on the line from Northampton, England, we have Pete Marshall, who runs the Subbuteo Solo League. Now, if you've been on Facebook recently and you've been kind of navigating through the different Facebook groups about Subbuteo, you might have seen a post or two from Pete talking about the Subbuteo Solo League. So, Peter, I wanted to find out more about how this works and how it's set, how long it's been running. But let's go back in the time machine. Let's go back to your first introduction to Subbuteo. I mean, when was it? How long ago was it? And what are your memories of your first impressions of the table soccer game?
Well, I remember the year well. It was 1974 when the World Cup was on in Germany, and Mum and Dad brought me a Subbuteo for my birthday. I was 11 at the time. I'm 56 now. Sure. They set me up in the sun house we had in the garden, and I set my Subbuteo up, and my dad brought me some red duct tape so I could pull it round the track to make it like a running track like it was in Munich at the time. They had football stadiums in Olympic stadiums back in the day. And I got cardboard boxes and made stands and made it as close as I could to a German football stadium. But then, as you grow older, I was probably 13 or 14, come home from school one day and my mum said, "Oh, your Subbuteo's gone, I'll give it away to someone." So I was a bit bitted, as you do.
Right.
And then, what was it, about 6 years ago, we were at an auction and there was 2 Subbuteo sets for sale, and I think we bought them 2 for £5. And I brought it home just to play with my daughter. But he does play occasionally, and so does my wife. They think I'm crazy. But I took over the garage and set up my stadium in the garage. And I keep forever changing it. I've done away with cardboard boxes now and buy all sorts of material and see what works and what doesn't. And I got to playing on my own little teams and make up my names for my teams, and even the players have names.
Sure.
And done my own league. And then some guys, there's so many Subbuteo clubs on Facebook, and I got to chatting to a few, and Paul Stannard was the inventor of this solo league, the ISSL, International Subbuteo Solo League. And he did a great job starting it. Andrew Fake took over because it was getting a bit too much for Paul. And that's running really well. I think that's into its 3rd season now.
Sure.
And we started the Solo Fantasy League come about because the ISSL has certain regulations which I kind of getting through the grapevine that some people weren't happy with and wanted to be a bit more diverse. So the Solo Fantasy League runs along with the ISSL, not in competition in any way, but it runs along with it as a diverse kind of group. They play when you want. You don't have to play every week. And you can name your own teams and players like I've done when I was younger. Come up with some crazy names for players. Mm-hmm. And I've got about 40 people in the league now who've all given me names of their hometowns or some team that they just fantasize about having in their lineup, and it's took on really well.
So going back to that 1974, and your mum and dad brought home the Subbuteo set, and then you had it set up in that in the kind of the area next to your house there. Was that the 1974 Munich set from Subbuteo?
No, it's the Continental. I believe it. Looking back, all the boxes that you see on Facebook and what have you on various Subbuteo sites, the box is very similar to a Continental set.
Okay.
Just the red and white and blue and white team, and just the pitch and goals, really. I think fantastic, but it was to me.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and then fast forwarding now to kind of from the last 5 or 6 years and playing Subbuteo these days. In terms of playing the solo leagues, was that more of something you preferred to do, or was it something that you weren't able to find local clubs to play against?
Through that summer of '74, I played all my games myself. I actually was quite surprised to find how many groups there are and clubs that play, with two people. I thought it was a game just played on your own. So I only realised when I started to get in my later years that Subbuteo is a two-person game, which I really thought I was quite surprised at. Some people believe that Subbuteo can't be played just one person, but I've got the skill and know how to do it.
Well, that's one of the questions I had. But two is that picturing the game, and I can see how you can play against yourself, but how does that work as far as the goalkeepers? So I'm guessing that you know what I mean. You say it's red team against the blue team, so you flick off, and then they go to the other side of the pitch and do a defensive flick or a block. Well, actually, how does the game work then? So from a solo, when you're playing solo, what's the best way to describe it?
From kick-off, you just lose possession if you miss the ball. When you play it, when you flick your ball, I think I do 3 moves. You can flick a player off the ball. Just 2 players you can move. This is my rule. I don't know what anyone else does. That's the beauty of solo. You just make up your rules that suit, really. But from kick-off, my say like the red team are in possession, and as long as they don't miss the ball, then you go to flick them to hit the ball. You kind of like in your mind say, right, these 2 players are just moving. I'm just moving these 2. And then you go to flick the ball again to pass to them. And as soon as you flick your player and he misses the ball, then the opposition take over.
Okay.
And you keep playing like that till you get to the shooting zone. And like you say, with the goalkeepers, I used to use the traditional keepers that you get. But I find when you hit the ball and it hits them hard, they were too light, and a goal would definitely be scored just because they weren't sturdy enough in position. So I got them heavier keepers that are on a metal screwdriver rail, and they're actually metal, and they're much more sturdy. So if the goalie does save the ball, he does save it because the ball just pings off of them.
So Pete, is that you would say if you're playing red team against blue team, would you put the goalkeeper in the position in the 6-yard box and just leave it there, where you think it's probably best positioned, and vice versa with the other goalkeeper? That's it.
And if you put him in the wrong position and he doesn't save, then that's hard luck. That's just the way it is.
Okay.
It's your decision. You place him where you think he can save it. But then your player does a fantastic shot that just goes the opposite way to what you think is going to go.
Right, exactly. And do you set? Is there a kind of a in terms of rules, in terms of playing time, like how many minutes each half has to be, or is it up to the individual person?
It's up to the individual. A lot of people ask advice, like even how long each half should be. I'd play 7 minutes each half because of the amount of teams I've got. If I spent any longer, I just wouldn't have the time to play all the leagues I play. So 7 minutes each way is good for me. I'll get about 4 or 5 goals in each game, so I think it's fair.
Mm-hmm. And then how does that work? Because you just mentioned that all the teams that you have, is it that you have a bunch of teams that you play as, or are you in a whole bunch of different leagues?
Keeping to the solo league, what we do is when there's someone enrolls, you give me a team name. Some people have signed up with 3 or 4 teams, And I put them into 4 leagues we've got running at the moment, all named after our famous football players. Francis Beckenbauer, Jeff Hurst League, Roy Race League from Melchester Rovers, a comic.
Yep, right.
And yeah, there's another guy we've named a league after. I can't remember now. But there's about 16 teams in each league. So when someone enrolls and tells me what team they want, I ask them what team colours they're going to play with, so that other opponents get to know what their opponent's colours are, at least. It doesn't really matter, because you can still just play with just a red and blue team and a ball, really. But I would, once they've signed up and told me what team they want, I put them in the league and then send them a list of fixtures that they need to play. I give them all of the fixtures. There's probably 15 in a league of 16, and they play all their home games.
Okay.
And they send me the results back, and each week I collate them and work out their positionings and post them to the Facebook chat so they can see how their team's doing. The opponents, they play all the away games, of course. So eventually, it sounds like you could be biased and make sure that your home team wins 15 games, but you might not win the league because they might lose all their away games. And then towards the end of the league, it gets quite good because it's all down to points and goal difference, just as it is in the real league.
So would you say that there needs to be more, or there is more honesty, or there's a lot of honesty among each of the players playing in the Solo League?
That's quite a surprising thing, because when the ISSL League started, I didn't think people would be honest, but they are. Sometimes that your home team can lose 3-0 at a home game, and it could be that your team's going to be relegated or lose out in a cup final. But it all adds to the fun. Honesty is prevails, really, because if you cheat, why have you joined if you're going to cheat and you're going to win? It's you've got to be honest to enjoy the uniqueness of the Solo League, really.
And then how long would a typical league run for?
Well, going to the ISSL, they do a 6-month league, and that's something that we've caught on to on the Fantasy League, because we do a 2-month league or a 6-week league, because some people don't want to commit to 6 playing games every week for 6 months, and they just want to play for a couple of months, or a week. The Fantasy League, you can play all your games at once, or 1 game a week. We don't make any stipulation. It's just that the league that's running now started on the 1st of August, and I really want all the results in by the 31st of October. And so it gives somebody, the guys, an idea of how to play the games and when they need to play them by.
So what would you say are some of the benefits of playing a solo fantasy league versus, say, someone joining or finding a local club and playing, against others?
I think what I'm getting to find with the guys is they like the Solo League to practice for the clubs. So I wouldn't say one's better than the other. I think they both benefit one another, really. There's a few guys that have never dreamt of playing solo that have actually tried it and have found out that it is helping their game, because of some people will play the blue team with their left hand and the red team with their right hand. So it's given them benefits of practicing using both hands, and the skill set for when they play in clubs. So I think it complements, the Solo League complements if you wanted to play in a club.
And I would imagine that somebody playing, maybe somebody lives in a very remote area, or you mean, I don't know, Anglesey or wherever it may be, but some place where it might be very difficult to find other Subbuteo players in that area that are available. Or I guess that's one of the benefits too, is you could play whenever you have time, and even if there's no one in your area.
Yes, yeah. And the other thing as well, I know we talk of solo, but there are a few guys that have got together and play their games with one another and then send me the results. So you don't have to play it solo. You can play with friends and family and or just send you the results to me. All I want at the end of the day is a result. How you play your game is up to you. We call it the Solo League. I did try to get it to people to change it from solo to entice to play a game, but we put it to the vote and we put a poll on it. But people want the guys that have joined at the moment want it known as a solo league for that purpose that you just said, that they can't get to clubs, and the only way they can play is through what we've invented.
And in terms of the players that are competing in the Subbuteo Solo Fantasy League, do you know where they're from, maybe which parts of the world, and kind of age range?
Yeah, we've got, I don't know so much about the age. I would say middle age. Looking at the photos, I think I haven't got any teenagers, but I think we've got early 20s, 30s, but the majority are in my age group, 50 plus.
Sure.
And I've got a player from New Zealand that I'm proud of, Australia, Belgium, America. It's I was going to call it World Fantasy League, but they didn't like that. They just like it as it is, Subbuteo Solo Fantasy League.
Sure. And so you mentioned a second ago too about people taking photographs. So are there any that maybe take a video or kind of a highlight clips or?
Well, the one of the finals that we had in the ISSL, the guy filmed himself playing the final. So that was great because we could all watch it and see how our teams unfolded.
Sure. So when did the Subbuteo Solo Fantasy League start up, the group on Facebook? And
the ISSL League started first.
Okay.
And it's in its third season now. So I think, 2019, must have been late 2017, I think, because it takes 6 months to complete a league. So, 18 months ago. But it's in its third season now.
Okay. And what about any prizes or any trophies for any of the winners that finished the league?
The ISSL do some brilliant trophies. They're magnificent, but you can't keep them. If you win, you keep them until the end of the season, and then you have to hand them back. As the Fantasy League, you keep a smaller trophy, and Paul Lloyd, he does some top spin teams. I don't know if you heard of him.
Yep.
And Mark Parker from San Diego teams. They're going to donate custom painted teams to the winners of the leagues. So that's been good. Yeah.
Yeah, and the ISSL for those listeners who are wondering, it's the International Subbuteo Solo League. And if someone is interested, no matter where they live around the world, where's the best place for them to express an interest or find out more information about if they want to play in this league?
Yeah, Facebook. It solely relies on Facebook. Both groups really, because of the diverse way Facebook works now. You can message people on the messenger. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
And so Facebook is the way.
Okay. And then so there's the two leagues. So there's the Subbuteo Solo Fantasy League and then there's the ISSL, which is the International Subbuteo Solo League, and which is the best place for them to contact you through?
It's just put a post in the messenger, really, in the Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
If they can find the groups on Facebook, we will reply if they express an interest and help out with any details that they need.
Okay. And great, yeah, excellent. And then in terms of the way that the game is played, you mentioned before too that each individual can go ahead and adjust the rules to benefit them in terms of if it's 10-minute half, 7-minute half, whatever it may be. Are there any peculiarities about the way that Solo's Subbuteo works, or that they're quite different than, say, the Fistef rule book, which is 65 pages, which is nonsense. It's just too much. But are there any big differences rules wise?
I think the lineups. A lot of people prefer who play Solo prefer the traditional lineup of 4-4-2 or 5-3-2. Whereas I know I've seen it on that the club games that people play, they just line up all defenders on the shooting line, which isn't my idea. But I appreciate it's the way they play their games. But again, if you want to play it like that, then you can. There's no rules to say you can't. It's at the end of the day, at full time, I just want the result. However you got it is up to you.
So you have your team of 11 players. Do you go ahead and number each player so you know which individual figure is actually scoring more goals than some of the others in the league?
It averages out about the same, about 2 or 3 goals a game. There's no 6-0 wins to the home team or anything like that. It comes through quite honest. Very often, you expect a team to go top. You think, for example, Team B, if they win, they will go top of the league. But they come back with a loss or a draw. So it's really quite surprising, and that's why we think people are honest, because when they could win the title, a result comes through where they've lost or drawn.
Sure.
So we feel honesty is working. It's very good. I appreciate the players in the league to play with that kind of honesty.
And as the league goes on throughout a typical season, are the results posted on the Facebook group so people can look at the division table and see how they're doing?
Yeah, yes, they are. Yeah, we each league has its own place where you should post the results to, and then, as I say, I collate them. But the idea is, if you post them on Facebook and on the group page, it gives the chance for everyone else to see the results. And some people even go as far as taking photos and giving us reports on their match too, which is fun to read.
Excellent. And last question I have, Pete, is looking to the future. Do you have any ideas or different plans of how to maybe expand this or make it even better than what it already is?
We always learn from each season, really, and somebody will think of an idea in the group, and we will go along with that idea if it's unanimous that everyone would like, how a league is done, how a certain competition is done, or a title for a competition. Anything really. It's all, even though there's people the administrators that run the leagues, it's pretty open to the group really. And if anybody in the group has got an idea, then we'll go along with it. And if it doesn't work, we won't use it in the next season. But with the fantasy league, it's a bit more relaxed, and we can, because the league's only run for 2 months. it's exciting to build up a new league and new ideas. And well, we've done two. This is our second competition that we're in now, and we're already planning for the third competition, and we're seeing if ideas will work, and if we did this or that. So yeah, it can always progress.
Sure.
And I think it will progress, as members grow, really, and ideas.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. So just to be clear, so the question from my side is that the Subbuteo Solo Fantasy League, are those matches and that league run differently than the ISSL one, or is it kind of all? You mean?
Yeah. The ISSL has, I think it's got 6 leagues now, and it's like it is now with promotions and relegation.
Yep.
Each, if your top 3 go up and the bottom 3 go down. Whereas the Fantasy League is we did a Champions League type competition, the first one. I think there was 24 teams in it, and it was played like a World Cup, group matches, and then knockout. The top teams played in a knockout round. This league we've got now is 4 leagues of 16, and the winners of each group go through to the final 4. Just 4 will play in a group for the final stage, and the top team obviously will win the trophy and these poor Lloyd teams.
Sure.
So that's the idea now. But the next competition, we don't know yet. We're putting plans and ideas together. We might run a league with 24 teams in, which will take the 6 months to do, because that'll be 25 weeks, a game a week. Or we might do smaller groups, like a World Cup type situation. But the Fantasy League can't be England, Spain, Uruguay or whatever. They've got to be fictitious teams which add to the fun of the Fantasy League.
Okay, so they have to be a club-specific team. So you mean they can call them whatever it is, but it can't be a national team.
Yeah, but a made-up national team.
Right. Okay.
It can be similar to Uruguay, but not Uruguay. You can't actually name them Uruguay. Okay,
I gotcha. All right, excellent. Well, Pete, thank you so much for your time explaining this, because this is definitely of interest to me, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners from around the world, because some of us are not familiar with the solo Subbuteo leagues, and this gives us a really good appreciation of how it works, where we can sign up if we're interested, how it also is one of those things that doesn't replace. You kind of a 2-player game, or it doesn't replace a local club, but if anything, it actually can be played kind of in conjunction with it. Someone can do the Solo Fantasy League and still be a member of the club and still be playing against other people in their local league or the local club, wherever it may be. So, this is really, really interesting, and I appreciate your time giving us a glimpse into this world, because I'm sure a bunch of our listeners will be interested, and I'm sure they'll be in touch soon to find out how to sign up and play this.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your interest.
So that's all we have for this episode of the Subbuteo podcast. We'll look forward to joining you hopefully sooner, and looking forward to having some more interviews, more discussion, more news about the beautiful game of Subbuteo. So happy flicking.